All right, everybody. So as you can tell by the graphic, we are having a Locked On crossover episode with myself and Jay Forster from Locked On Blue Jackets. So Jay, you ready to talk about game one and then what to expect from game two?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to this Locked On crossover event. I am Chris Maselli from Locked On Avalanche, and with me from Locked On Blue Jackets, Mr. Jay Forster. How's it going on? What's going on, I should say?
Yeah, not a lot. Still kind of riding the high from last night.
Riding the wave, yeah. So we had planned to, we tried to do this before the 2-game series. I think it's better that we're doing it in between game one and game two between the Blue Jackets because of the Avalanche and the Blue Jackets, because a lot to talk about on what happened in that game. Insanely exciting game, and kind of what to expect when it heads back to Columbus. So we'll get into all of that, but first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. You can follow my show on Twitter, LOPN_Avalanche, on Instagram, Locked On Avalanche. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com and subscribe to the show's YouTube channel over on YouTube. Where can they find you at?
Yes, you can find me wherever you get Locked On Avalanche, except for YouTube. I'm not quite there yet. You can find the show on Twitter at LO_Blue Jackets. And if you want to, I don't know, mix in some dog pictures and some Star Wars opinions with your hockey, then you can follow my personal Twitter, which I believe is just down here. So
I'm gonna have to take this off the wall right now because this is from and the battery on this thing. It sucks the battery life out of this thing so quickly. But this was purchased at Disney World down in Orlando, Florida. That was right at Galaxy's Edge. That was a fun time.
I believe it.
If you ever get there, oh my god. I'm gonna put that right over there, and hopefully my cat doesn't go crazy on it. But all right. So by the way, Last Jedi for me, 2 thumbs up.
Oh no, 2 thumbs down.
Oh,
it's my least favorite of the movies. Like we could do a whole podcast on
and we will in the off season. So if that's not enough for people to hang around after the season's over, we will do a crossover episode where we will talk Star Wars.
Right. I will say, just before we get into the hockey, my partner and I decided during this pandemic, because we're long distance, so we watched all of the Star Wars. We started at Phantom Menace and went all the way through. We did Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, all the way through. We've only got Rise of Skywalker left. But yeah, that was.
Ooh. So you did all the Clone Wars over again?
Yep.
Wow.
Everything.
It
was a fun time.
I mean, hey, when you get nothing else to do, when there's nothing else going on, when all else fails, go to Star Wars. So, all right. So game one between these two, incredibly exciting game. For from the Avalanche perspective, I guess I'll take it first and kind of. That's why I take a deep breath, because it's like it was such a roller coaster. I'm sure it was for you too.
Oh, I would have liked a little less excitement. Frankly,
really?
Just like that last kind of 3 minutes could have been a little bit more chill. But
see, for me, that was the best part. Yeah, I mean, it was so up and down. The Avs looked really good in the first 2 minutes. I thought they played an overall sound game, and they've been doing that. They haven't got off to the best start of the season, but the past couple games, you start to see kind of more of what they're all about, even with all of the players that they're missing in this game. And I'm not using that as an excuse, because look what they did in the first 40 minutes. They were up 2-0. And then it was just like, this was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for both of our teams, probably going in opposite directions. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, Avs looked good. Blue Jackets didn't look awful, but I think just the Avalanche were just shutting them down. And then in the third period, it just turned and the wheels fell off for the Avalanche, and the Blue Jackets would not quit, and 4 unanswered goals. So is that how the Blue Jackets have been playing all year? Or was this game kind of like an anomaly where that just came out of nowhere?
Yeah, that kind of came a little bit out of nowhere. Like, so when it came, it was 2-0, and then I believe you guys scored a power play goal maybe that ended up getting waved off for interference?
I
Or
don't know. There was, I don't know if that was on the power play or not. I don't remember if that was on the power play,
oh, okay, but
but
I
it
remember
wasn't.
it was very close to becoming 3-0, and I was
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
"If they score here, I'm turning I'm turning
Yeah,
this game off."
yeah.
But,
I mean, it was he had the puck stopped and the kind of just the stick. I think it was JT Confer kind of just guided him into the net, and like, yeah, you can't do that. So I don't know. I
oh,
don't
yeah,
remember if it was on a power
he
play or
pushed the
not, but
goalie into the net, and I'm like, "No, no, no,
yeah,
you're not allowed to do that."
no,
But
can't do that.
so, yeah, and then we got one back, from Jake Bean, and I was like, "Okay, well, this 3rd period could go either way," because the Blue Jackets are one of those teams where, like, you don't really know what you're gonna get from period to period,
Hmm.
even, game to game, shift to shift sometimes. So I was like, "You know what? This 3rd period could be the best 3rd period that they've played all season, or the wheels could completely fall off." And lucky for us, it was, for the most part, a pretty good 3rd period. I think this is the first game that we've outshot, our opponents all season, and I was just looking this up. We outshot you guys 13-6 in the 3rd period,
Yeah.
so it really is kind of a way better response than I was expecting, and obviously we scored 3 3rd period goals, so
4 third period goals, right?
no,
Because you went,
the first goal was, in the 2nd period, I
you did have
believe.
a goal in the second?
Yeah, at
Okay,
16:55 of the second was the 2-1 goal, and then
gotcha.
we
And
scored
then
3 goals in the first 10 minutes of the 3rd
gotcha,
period, so I was
gotcha.
like,
Okay.
"Can we hang on? Can we hang on for, like, 12 minutes?" And
Did
no.
you feel? I mean, being in the opponent's arena, an Avalanche team that is expected to do a lot this year. Um, what was the comfortability level when you had that 4-2 lead? Did you feel like it was? I don't want to say like in the bag, or were you still like, no, this is far from over because of those reasons? What was kind of going through your head as they were kind of protecting that 4-2 lead?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, "Oh, a 4-2 lead, it should feel quite comfortable," but for me, the Avalanche, and especially Nate MacKinnon, I don't ever wanna count a team that has a guy like Nate MacKinnon out,
Hmm.
because he's a game changer, and, he didn't get on the score sheet in the end, but he's
I think he
just
had an assist. I don't know if I think he might have had an assist on the
what a
day.
player to watch,
But
like.
yeah, he's fun.
And so I was like, okay, we can't kind of sit back on our heels and defend for the rest of the period, and I don't think we did for the most part. We kind of kept the pressure on. It just happened to be the 3 minutes at the end of the 3rd period with 6 on 5. Gus Nyquist missed an empty net by about
Oh
six
yeah,
8 inches,
yeah.
and then I think very shortly after that was the tying goal. So.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, a lot of people will start focusing in on Nathan MacKinnon at that stage in the game, or pretty much throughout the entirety of the game. But specifically when his team's down and they're scratching and clawing to get back into the game. And then you saw, what other guys on this team can do, like Bowen Byram, who was just head and shoulders above everybody else on the ice.
He had a phenomenal game, I thought.
Unbelievable. I mean, that was his coming out party.
Yeah.
He looked absolutely phenomenal. And when you're down guys like his, he's Robin to Cale Makar's Batman. And
That's the thing, because I looked at the guys that were out, and I was like, "Okay, Rantanen's out, Devon Toews is out," and then I was like, "Oh, Cale Makar's out. Okay, that's gonna be interesting on defense." And
yeah,
then it turns out that you kinda have Cale Makar, but slightly younger in Owen Byram, and I was like, "This
yeah,
feels unfair that you have
it's
a talent like Cale Makar, and then you have a guy like Byram as well, who,
it is
again,
a
I thought he was the MVP for the Avalanche last night."
Yeah, yeah, and obviously the losing effort, but they have a gluttony of riches on the defensive end, and they even have some guys that aren't even with them yet. They're still maturing on the AHL level that are waiting for the next couple of years. And there's only so many spots on the defensive end. The Avs have so many guys just
Yeah, I
waiting
mean,
to
it's
fill those roles.
in terms of problems to have, it could be
Could be worse.
worse, you know?
Yeah, could be like Vegas salary cap worse.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
we're not there yet. So, all right, let's hear from Built Bar, and then we'll kind of keep going with this and talk about the overtime session. But first, we hear from Built Bar, and Thanksgiving is around the corner. You get all the good food and treats and plenty to choose from. And what always happens around Thanksgiving time after the turkey's been consumed and the mashed potatoes and all that other good stuff is the dessert comes around, which is full of calories and sugar. So that's a perfect time for Built Bar. It is the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie. Are you a pie fan, Jay? Do you like? Is there any pies?
I am a big pie fan.
Yeah. I mean, who's not really? But one slice of pie can have upwards of 300 calories or more, and that is pretty much on the low end. Built bars are only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with a coconut built bar, or go for the raspberry built bar instead of the raspberry pie. Lots of great flavors to replace any pie on your table. They are low calorie, low carb, low fat, high in protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. And Built Bar is a great option when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or two. And go over to builtbar.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off of your order. Once again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. All right. So yeah, the Avs tied up after 2 goals after they pull their goalie. We head into overtime, and this has been a problem for the Avalanche. The Avs have not been a good overtime team, really ever since they switched to this 3-on-3 format, going back that far. And it showed. Columbus won the opening drop, didn't surrender the puck. I think they had the puck the entire time. I don't believe the Avalanche had possession in the overtime session. And then a bad, well, it was bad. It was a bad defensive play by Nazem Kadri. Lost sight of his man, kind of was in no man's land, going after a puck, and probably shouldn't have. And then I think it was Bean, right, who got the game winner. So on your, I mean, obviously that's a plus for you guys because you got the extra point in enemy territory. Are the Blue Jackets kind of the opposite of the Avs? Are the Blue Jackets a pretty decent overtime team?
Yes, but also this is kind of new and exciting this season. We were not very good at overtime last season. We've gone to overtime 4 times so far this season out of 9 games, and we're 4-0.
Wow.
So it's looking pretty good. I would prefer if we didn't go to overtime quite as much, but when we do, we seem to be coming away with the extra point. But yeah, it was. I had a pretty bad feeling going into overtime because you just scored 2 extra man goals. The momentum is all Avalanche,
Right.
and the thing about overtime is like one missed play or one bad pass, and it can be in your net. So like the margin of error in overtime is so small. You can Nazem Kadri just loses his man for a second
Mm-hmm.
and it goes horribly wrong. So I was not feeling great about it, and it all went Columbus's way. It was the only shot on goal in the overtime, and it went in. So you got to be
I'm
happy
telling you,
about that.
no, like for Avs fans, it comes down to the overtime puck drop. And when you lose that, you're like, we might not get an opportunity. And that's exactly what happened. For whatever reason, as much talent as they have, as many skill players as they have, who are dangerous in open ice. And when you're playing 3-on-3, there's a ton of open ice. They just can't seem to get possession of a puck. And even when they do, it's kind of ugly. I don't know. It's just an odd thing for the Avs, but it just seems to be going that way for Colorado this year. That things are, pucks are not bouncing their way. Their power play looks horrendous. But, I think they were 0 for 3 yesterday. They're on the bottom. I think they're 29th or 30th for the power play. And when you have that much talent, you shouldn't be there. You
Yeah,
just shouldn't.
I was really surprised when I was looking at I was doing a preview for the game on Wednesday, and I was like, okay, I'll see the Avalanche. I think they were 4-4 going into this game, and
Hmm.
then I was like, okay, but that I'm sure the underlying metrics are pretty good. And then I was like, oh, okay, the power play. I think they were 28th on the power play before the game and 28th in shots against or something. Like the defense
Believe
just
it.
isn't there, and I was really surprised by that because you always think Colorado, they basically score at will. They had a really good goaltender in Philip Grubauer. They've picked up a really good goaltender in Darcy Kemper, and obviously the defense is okay, young, but it's phenomenal. So to find that Colorado is kind of struggling is a kind of a
It's different.
surprise.
It's different. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody expects them to kind of, figure it out. But for right now, the numbers don't look good. They
Yeah.
just don't. So how about for Columbus though? Overall, off to a really good start. And I do the Locked On NHL with Adam Denker for Thursdays, and we do that's our power ranking show. And I mean, from the preseason, we were kind of talking like, don't sleep on Columbus. I think, you know, th- do you think they kind of got a bad rap because of the people who left there in the offseason? And people are like, oh, do people not want to be in Columbus? But no, they still have really good players on this team. What was the consensus going into this season when after you lose a guy like, Seth Jones? Um, was it still like, no, we're still in this. We still have solid players on this team. We can make a run for it.
Yeah, I think I was expecting them to be better than a lot of people. A lot of people were like, "Oh, they've written us off before the
Mm,
season even
right.
started. Columbus is going to be bottom of the league. They're going to be terrible." I didn't think they were going to be very good, but I thought they were going to be better than a lot of people had kind of given them credit for. Yeah, we lost Seth Jones, Cam Atkinson, Nick Foligno. We lost at the trade
That's right.
deadline.
Yeah.
Even going as far back as Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's off to a really good start in Winnipeg this season. Josh Anderson has gone. David Savard's gone. It's a lot of a lot of players have left. There are a lot of new players, and I don't know. It's all kind of it's working. I think Line and Voracek have got really good chemistry. Voracek's got 7 primary assists already this
Mm,
season, which is exactly what we got him for. We've got guys like Jake Bean, who was not a direct part of the Chicago trade for Seth Jones, but he was a result of we got a second round pick as part of the Seth Jones package, which we flipped to Carolina for Jake Bean. Cole Sillinger, drafted 12th overall. He was the first round pick that we got from Chicago this season. Anna Boquist is injured at the minute, but he, I think, has been having a really strong start. So I think a lot of people looked at the guys, like you say, looked at the guys that left and didn't really look at the guys coming
right.
back.
Right.
Max Domi, I think, has had a really strong start to the season, but he had massive shoulder reconstruction in the
Mm,
summer. Everyone was thought he was going to be out until December. He came back early, immediately had an impact. He had a 3-point night in the season opener, broke his rib in the second game of the season, came back for 2 games, and then tested positive for COVID. So he's out for the next 2 weeks. But he, I think, is a guy that has looked really good in the kind of the little that we've seen of him, and so he's a guy that Gus Nyquist as well, who hasn't really hit the score sheet a lot, but he missed all of last season, so it's like adding a whole new player there
sure.
as well, and I think, yeah, people are I still think it's probably gonna come crashing down a little bit. The underlying metrics are not great. We're getting outshot a lot. The goaltending has been really, really good, and that's covering a lot of the sins on defense. But for the most part, yeah, I think a lot of people are. Oh, Columbus is probably going to be in the running for Shane Wright, but I
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know that
they're
we're
all.
going to make the playoffs, but I think we're going to be better than a lot of people think.
So, what about a couple guys who used to wear Blue Jacket uniforms that now are wearing Avalanche uniforms? And Jack Johnson and Ryan Murray.
So Jack
How were they
Johnson,
when they were on the Blue Jackets?
Ryan Murray is one of the not necessarily the one that got away. I don't think he was a guy that we traded partially because we needed cap space to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois, who obviously we ended up trading anyway. So that was
Right.
kind of a frustrating way to lose a player that I liked, but a player that just couldn't stay healthy, which was the big problem. No one ever
Sure.
said, "Oh, Ryan Murray's not good at hockey." He just couldn't stay
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
That was the problem. I thought I was really high on him. I liked him a lot. I was annoyed that we had to trade him to basically make room for a player that didn't end up staying anyway. I think he's gonna be sneaky good for the Avalanche if again he can stay healthy. But he's a guy that I think a lot of people have written off as oh he's washed already or he's a bust.
Well, he was
And
a second overall pick. I
yeah,
mean, that's a lot to live up to. And when you're not a superstar, yeah, you're going to have a label attached to you and not a good one.
yeah, and
So,
especially if for a defenseman as well. I
right.
think it's tough because you expect the top 3, top 5 picks to be these game changing
Hmm.
players, and he's not a game changer, but I do think, and I don't think he's obviously not going to be on the top pairing on Colorado, but I think he could be a solid
Yeah.
second pairing guy for
He's
you.
settling in nice. It took him a little while to get going, but it took Brandon Saad a little while to get going last year for the Avs too. And you just got to settle in. You're in a new town, obviously. So his past few games have been kind of more of what the Avalanche are expecting from him. Just sound defense.
Yeah.
That's all they really need from him on a third
In
pairing
terms of
basis.
Jack Johnson, he scored my favorite goal so far this season.
Which
Which
the
which
first?
was the season opening goal with
Oh my
the
God.
breakaway against Chicago.
Yeah.
And I
Uh,
saw that and I was like, "Oh, Eric Johnson. Like, good for
nope.
him," you know? And then I was
Nope.
like, "Nope, other Johnson." Just
That
it
was
was incredible. Again, Jack Johnson gets a bad rap because he's not great and he's kind of slow, but
hmm
he again is a guy that I think is better than public opinion. And he got a bad rap because he signed for I think what did he say? It was like 5 point something. He signed in Pittsburgh for,
I don't
which is
remember, but yeah, it was up
just too
there. Yeah.
much for Jack
Yeah.
Johnson,
Right.
like, and so he was never going to live up to that contract, and so I think that's a lot of where the kind of animosity came from.
Yeah.
And it's which like, you kind of feel for the guy, but he seems like he's doing okay
He's telling you, man, like
in
he
Colorado. So
I mean, came in on a PTO, so it wasn't uh, a home run that he was going to sign with them, but
it was
he's been,
pretty kind of 11th hour as well, if I remember.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. He's been great. He's been, again, he knows his role on this team. He doesn't need to be the guy soaking up 20 minutes a night. You know what I mean? Like,
he is a guy that plays at his best when his minutes are limited, I think.
that's a good point. Yeah.
And also there was a season in Columbus where so he spent most of his time with David Savard on the second pairing. He and David Savard led the league in plus minus a couple of seasons ago.
Hmm.
So he's clearly like I don't think he's gonna do that on Colorado necessarily, but I think
Right.
he is a guy who you limit his minutes, you limit his use. He can kill penalties. I wouldn't put him on the power play, but and he's clearly still got hands, as evidenced by his goal against Chicago. So yeah,
Right.
I think he's a guy that is a perfect guy that you pick a cup team picks up to just kind of bolster the bottom
Fill a
pairing.
role. Right.
Veteran guy can
Yep.
look after the rookies. Colorado's got quite a young
Oh, yeah.
decor, so
Well, for him to score that goal, the first goal of the season, the way he did it, I mean,
so happy for him.
he
Like,
looked like MacKinnon. You're pretty much you're in with the fan base for the rest of the season, basically,
Yeah.
for starting
A lot,
that way.
lot of goodwill at a goal like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, let's hear from Bet Online and then kind of get into Saturday's game where we are kind of expecting this to go. So, betonline.ag, we are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season with more prop bets, odds, and lines than ever before. And Bet Online remains your number one spot for all of the basketball and football action for this season. Head to the new updated desktop and mobile device websites and sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, the NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. And BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. It's where the game starts. It's betonline.ag. All right, so going into game number 2 between the Blue Jackets and the Avalanche. This one is obviously in Ohio. So what to expect? At least from the Avalanche, they should look different. We haven't been given, the 100% okay yet, but we know Cale Makar is not going to be there. But Mikko Rantanen practiced. Andre Burakovsky practiced. So, and Devon Toews could be good to go for the first time all year. So you could have 3 really big pieces of your puzzle back against Columbus for game 2 of this series. So right there, this will look like a different game. But Toews hasn't played yet. So, Cale Makar didn't play in the preseason, and it took him a solid 3 or 4 games to really get, that was the first 3 or 4 games was his preseason, and it showed. So I don't think a lot of people are expecting Toews to come out and then just be his normal self like he was last year right off the bat. I think, with Rantanen and Burakovsky, yeah, both of them missed a couple games, but they have a good chunk of games already in the hopper for this season. So, even so, more than welcoming back for the Avalanche, who yet again are just getting decimated by injuries and COVID problems. So to get those guys back, the only ones you're missing now are Nichushkin. I don't think he's going to be back for Saturday. I think he's still maybe a little bit away. But you get those 3 guys back, in Rantanen, Burakovsky, and Toews, and this is a completely different team, and this is a completely different game than what we had against Wednesday. So if that happens, I'm liking the Avalanche chances, even though going into Columbus, where they haven't lost yet, right?
We've lost 1, I believe.
You have lost 1? Okay.
Yeah, we lost to Carolina.
Was it overtime?
No.
It wasn't
No,
overtime? Okay. All right.
It was 5-1, which
right.
was...
Then
Carolina's a good team. It's annoying.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. They run into a buzzsaw right there. But fact remains is that Columbus so far has been good at home.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting from Columbus? Is there anything that they need to? I mean, they were down 2-0. So, obviously they got those 4 goals in a row, won it in overtime. Do they need to change anything, or is it just let's focus in on what we did in the third period and just do more of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be a different goaltender. I think Muslikins will probably make the start. They've been splitting pretty evenly so far this season, and Muslikins has been phenomenal so far this season. He's been the best player on this team by far. One thing that should be interesting, though, you getting players back. Patrick Laine didn't play the final 8 minutes of the third period, and he also wasn't on the ice during overtime.
Really?
So
See, I didn't even notice that. Okay,
if he's
why?
missing, that could be interesting.
And that would have to be injury related, right? I mean, it's not like he was playing a poor game. It's not, it was a coach's decision.
Exactly. He's had a really good start to the season as well. I think I think he's only got 2 goals so far. Both of them were overtime winners, though.
Okay.
And he's also got a handful of assists. He's currently second on the team in points. I think he's got 10 points in 9 games so far. So, he's clearly doing something right. And I think people get twitchy when goal scorers are getting assists instead.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried. Like the goals will come. I think partially it's that Boone Jenner keeps stealing all of his power play goals. Because Boone Jenner is going to willpower his way to 30 goals this season. I think, based
Yeah.
entirely on just kind of planting himself in front of the goaltender on the power play. And he's got 6 goals so far this season. 4 of them have come on the power play, and I think all 4 of them have been like deflections or have bounced off him. So
Garbage
uh,
goals.
that's something
Yeah.
to watch out for as well. I think is
Okay.
okay. We might be missing line eight, but we are scoring by committee at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
As evidenced by the game, we had 18-year-old Cole Sillinger scoring 2 goals, 23-year-old Jake Bean scoring 2 goals, Boone Jenner got a goal, but so it's not only the top line that's scoring, which is fantastic.
Right.
Missing line eight will probably mean that we have to shake the lines up a little bit, but I'm not worried about the offense. I am worried about the defense because it's very, very green. Bo Christ is out with an injury. He might be back. He's been quote unquote banged up for like 4 games now, so I don't know when he's coming back.
Okay.
Kukan, I believe, is injured as well. So at the minute, we're rolling with Werenski, who's playing like 30 minutes a game, which seems
Oof.
unsustainable.
Oof.
Uh, Vladislav Gavrikov, kind of our shutdown guy, and then it's like 4 children, essentially.
Yeah.
So that could get
All right.
a little interesting.
So, prediction wise, what do you think? Do Columbus sweep this thing, or? And I know I don't know how much of a homer you're going to be here, but
I know.
uh,
I'm debating. I would like them to win. I think they could win. I think going into Columbus, it's a tough arena to play in. The
mhm.
cannon bothers
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
Which the more you hate the cannon, the stronger it makes us.
yeah.
I think the
The
goaltending
the
this year
cannon
is really
is the
important.
Avalanche altitude, pretty much. Yeah, like,
Yeah, basically.
yeah. And the other thing for the Avalanche is, they had their backup Jonas Johansson in game one.
Yeah, I imagine Kemper
So
will start
Kemper will in
on
all likelihood
Saturday.
start.
So
So it's odd, it's only 3 days in between games, but at least on the Avalanche side, it'll have a different feel
yeah,
for who's in there. The lines will be completely different, and you have your starting goalie back there. So if you're an Avalanche fan, even though you salvaged a point, but going into this, if those guys are back, and again, we haven't got word that they are 100% back, but you're expecting guys like at least Rantanen and Burakovsky to come back,
yeah,
possibly Taves. But if you just have those 2 guys and Kemper in goal, I think you're feeling pretty good, even though going into Columbus was tough to play. So I still think this. I mean, that was one of the most exciting games for the Avalanche so far this season. Um, I, I'm okay with that. I like watching exciting games, even when it's involving my team. I think a lot of people just want the 5-0 blowout where you just get the 2 points, you have to worry about anything. Yeah, those are fun to watch, but that was a fun game. That was back and forth. One team had the lead, another team took it, and the other team came back overtime. What more can you ask for in a hockey game? Loved
yeah.
it.
I like a little lower scoring in my games. I don't know if it's a goalie thing or not, but
Mm-hmm.
like I will take a 2-1 win or a 3-2 win. My hope for this kind of mini series would be 3 points. Uh, so we've got
Okay.
2 of them so
So
far. I would be happy coming out of Saturday's game with a point. I would be happier with 2. An overtime loss would be I would be fine with
you're
that.
okay with it, right?
It's a Western Conference division. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's a Western Conference matchup. It's not like that was the thing that annoyed me so much last season was that every single game was a 4-point game
Hmm.
because you only played in your division.
So true.
And I've said this. I've done a bunch of these crossovers. I'm so excited for like a meaningless January game against like
Yeah.
Vancouver or Anaheim.
Yes.
Where it
Yes.
means nothing.
Yeah, I am with you. I just seeing the team crisscross the country, 2 countries,
Yeah.
again is exciting for sure. So, all right, well, we will both be watching, and I did want to ask you. The last crossover we did was at the beginning of the playoffs, and you were doing crossovers to try to find a rooting interest.
Oh yeah,
I
the
don't think I ever
bandwagon
got
the bandwagon series.
I don't think I ever got an answer to that. Who was you throwing your support behind during the postseason last year?
I went with Montreal in the end,
Did you really?
just
Good.
because. Yeah, I think not so much because I wanted Montreal to win. They just kept playing teams I hated more than more than the Habs. Or no, it was
Gotcha.
when they were facing Toronto, I was like, well, I don't want Toronto to win ever. I'm
So
pretty
okay.
ambivalent about the Jets. Vegas is bad, and Tampa just won.
And now we
You
hit
know,
Vegas even
so
more, right? Yeah.
I kept weighing it up, and like I was like, maybe I'll change this round, but no, Montreal just kept stacking up as the
Just
most kind of
yeah,
favorable team. So
just the way that it worked out. So
yeah.
all right.
Plus, they had a bunch of former Blue Jackets as well, so that helped.
That does help too. Yeah, you got some rooting interest there as well. So, all right, I'll forgive you for last week. So, all right, sir. But yeah, this will be an exciting one, and then this wraps it up for these two, right? I mean, they're done.
Yeah, it's weird. Like,
It's November, and that'll be
yeah,
it until
we're
maybe the
done.
Stanley Cup Finals, right? We'll go for that.
God,
All right, but that's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Definitely head on over to Locked On NHL or even Locked On Fantasy Hockey to make that your second listen of the day. Get all up to date on your fantasy teams or just the NHL teams in general. So, all right, Jay, thank you for doing this. It's always enjoyable.
yeah, thanks for having me. It's weird that
Absolutely.
this is going to be the last one. Normally,
This
I'm
is
like, oh,
it.
I'll see you the next time our teams play,
I
and
know. I
that'll
know.
be
Well,
next season, I guess.
I guess, or maybe if there's some trade that goes on between these two teams down the road,
Maybe.
we'll meet up again, I'm sure. So, all right, guys, that's gonna be it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later on.